we've looked at how a food forest is made, and if you haven't got enough space for a forest, you can always make a garden in your backyard. So when people think of gardening, they might think of food, maybe soil, maybe even hard work. But for me, when I think of gardening, I think empowerment, because my garden is a little mini revolution in itself. It's a way for us to work from the grassroots and really cut the ties between this big business and agribusiness, which causes all this environmental degradation. And if every dollar that I'm spending is saying, I support you, then I'm just not willing to support supermarket chains. So it also means a lot about nutrition for me as well. When I searched the world for what was the healthiest thing to put into my body, and I read and read, and I found in every book it always went back to the healthiest thing you can eat is something that's picked directly from a plant and put directly into your mouth. And this is like healthy soil, healthy plants, healthy humans. It's also really cheap. You know, you can grow a lot of food in a very small area for not much money. Pharmaceutical companies use the gardens, the herbs and spices and the root plants that are growing right in our garden beds. They put loads of chemicals in and use loads of fossil fuels and then sell it to us where we've got it growing in our own garden beds. So let's just cut that tie altogether. So if we're thinking about gardens, we can think cheap, we can think easy, you can meet your neighbours, you can meet your local community by learning from the garden and learning from your surroundings. And it's fun. It's so much fun to garden. Watching things grow can be really beautiful. So here in the tropics, there's a few really good strategies that you can use in your garden. One would be mulch. A lot of the everything's kept in the biomass in the tropics, so we need to cover our soil with as much organic matter as you can, and that can be straw, or you can grow your own mulch, lemongrass or comfrey, throw anything onto the soil as long as it's covered. Another one would be water. So when we're facing the wet and dry season of the tropics, we have to really design around our water systems. So one good water strategy in the tropics is using swales or planting on contour like Jeff was speaking about. Another good strategy is using drip line irrigation, which you would place underneath the mulch, and that waters the plant exactly, because we're trying to reduce, reuse and recycle as much water as we can. So you can also use things like grey water. That's a really good use of grey water, is into your garden beds. Another good strategy in tropical gardening is weed barriers. So in the tropics we have huge bursts of growth in the wet season. And they're all there for a reason. In permaculture we think the problem is the solution, so we look at a weed and try and work out how can that be our solution. And a lot of weeds are doing the things that we want them to do. They're covering the soil and protecting it, which gives us the amazing plants. So covering the soil would be the first thing that you would do when you're trying to stop the weeds coming up. So that comes back to mulch again. That cuts down a lot of our weeding needs. And you can also plant weed barriers. So put things around the edges of your garden that can stop the weeds from coming in. That can be logs or bricks or rocks or anything. Or you can plant weed barriers, and that way you've got veg and things growing around the edge of your garden that you can harvest from as well. Things like comfrey, again, lemongrass, canna lilies, daylilies, edible flowers. Plant them around the edges of your garden and you're going to have extra things to harvest from and stop the weeds. So there's a couple of permaculture plants that I love to use in the tropics. One is comfrey. Comfrey is one of my favourites. It's amazing plant. It can do so many things. As I said before, with the weed barriers, it's really good. It grows in a big clump, so it stops any weeds from coming in. It's also what we call a dynamic accumulator. So it sends tap roots really deep down in the soil and pulls out loads of nutrients that aren't accessible to other plants, and it stores them in really concentrated forms in the leaves. Then when the plant dies down over the season, the nutrients become accessible to all the plants around. So that's really super good for the plants. And because it has so high nutrients in the leaves, it's really good for making weed teas. So you just ferment it in water and then spray that over your garden, diluted, and it's just like a little fertilizer. You can also use it as a compost accelerator. If you put it in your compost, it makes it go way faster. Even just a few leaves does the trick. It's also a medicinal plant. They call it nip bone in some places. The Roman soldiers never used to march in war unless they had comfrey and garlic. They were their two antiseptic, antibacterial, anti-amazingness of plants. The other really good plant that we use a lot in tropical permaculture is neem, and this is a really good pioneer plant. So Christian probably spoke a bit in the food forest about plants that pioneer up. It's a really fast growing tree, and it's also very medicinal. The Indians eat like 5 leaves a day. A neem leaf a day keeps the doctor away. It's really bitter, but amazing for every part of your body, building immunity, immune system. It's really good for digestion. You can even use the branches to brush your teeth with. There's oil. You can get oil from the leaves and from the fruit, and from that you can make shampoos, and you can make detergents, and it gets rid of things like lice and fleas, so it's excellent for your animals too. And because it's such a bitter leaf, it's really good insecticide, a natural insecticide, so you can turn it into a spray and keep all the bugs away. And because of that, you can also use it as a mulch on your garden, and that prevents pests and things from coming into your garden as well. So both of these plants are my favourite. Grey water is something that we can utilise to the extreme. There's so many nutrients and amazing things that come from grey water. And grey water is anything that comes from your kitchen sink, your shower, your bathroom sink, and black water comes from your toilet. From your kitchen, you put a grease trap and then directly into your banana circle. So you can be washing your plates in the evening time and watering your banana circle, which is right at your door. And banana circle is a really beautiful way of using tropical permaculture. To make a banana circle, you basically dig a mulch pit, fill that with mulch, organic matter, cardboard, newspaper, rice husk, anything that can decompose down and feed the microbes and the worms below. Then you plant bananas around the outside and of the circle, and those grow down and their roots form like a net underneath. And that holds the whole thing together and supports it in a really beautiful structured way. Then from there we add loads of gills. We stack in the amazing plants, so we can plant papayas or mulberries or coconuts all amongst there, and then we can plant ground covers of sweet potato and taro and yams. We can plant beans to climb up and support the papayas. So we can make these a really amazing abundant systems of tropical permaculture that is like ecosystems within itself. So a great way to take that even one step further is to cut the distance between the house and the banana circle by actually creating a banana circle shower. So you can stand in amongst your amazing ecosystem of food and shower directly underneath this beautiful banana circle, knowing that the water that you pour on yourself is feeding directly down into the plants beneath you, which is then feeding you. So we can create these beautiful ecosystems of microclimates right at our doorstep, really, for a crazy amount of abundance.